Dear Libra, have you ever felt like you were born to bring peace into a world constantly at war with itself? And yet deep inside, you're the one always balancing on the edge between two truths: logic and emotion, harmony and honesty, connection and solitude. There's a reason your soul always longs for balance, not just in the world around you, but in the quiet, complicated universe within your own heart. People often see your grace, your calm, your kindness, but they don't realize the constant storm you're holding back with just a smile. The universe didn't choose you because you are perfect. It chose you because you're the only one who can see both sides of the soul, light and shadow, vulnerability and strength, the beauty of giving, and the ache of not being understood. And if you're here, listening to these words, I believe it's not by accident, because only those who carry the true essence of Libra are being called to hear these 5 sacred secrets, truths, hidden deep within you, that, if kept safe, become a power no one else can ever access. But if exposed, they become the very things others may use to pull you out of your center. So if you feel like you were meant to be here right now, if something inside you whispers, yes, this is for me, then leave a comment that says, Libra secrets are sacred. That's how I'll know you're walking this journey beside me. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell so we don't lose each other in the cosmic timing of everything that's still to come. Now, go make yourself a warm cup of tea or coffee, or simply take a quiet breath. Sit down with me like 2 friends reconnecting after lifetimes apart, and let's step into the first door of the secrets only your Libra soul will understand. Dear Libra, you are often seen as the one who brings peace, who smooths edges, who keeps things light and graceful, but let's be honest, no one really knows what it costs you to carry that balance. They see your calm and assume it comes easily. But you and I both know, it's not ease, it's mastery. It's the quiet, sacred art of holding 2 truths at once without losing yourself to either. Have you ever felt like your soul is always standing on a tightrope between wanting to keep the peace and needing to speak your truth? Between loving people deeply and protecting your own space? Between craving connection and fearing the loss of your center? That's not indecision, Libra. That's your inner compass doing its sacred work. While others choose sides quickly, you pause, you reflect, you feel into the gray areas no one else dares to look at. Not because you're unsure, but because you know too much to rush. Your ruling planet, Venus, doesn't just give you an eye for beauty, she gives you an ear for silence, a heart that listens to what's not being said, a soul that senses imbalance in its most subtle form and longs to restore harmony, not by overpowering but by understanding. This is your sacred gift, and the world will never fully understand how much energy it takes for you to stay in that center, to be the emotional anchor for people who never even realize you're holding them steady, to weigh everyone's emotions, fears, and wounds without letting them spill into chaos. But here's the truth no one tells you. Your balanced heart is not just something nice to have. It is a gateway to higher wisdom. You see the world not through the lens of black and white, but through every shade in between. And because of that, you see people, their fears, their contradictions, their goodness, even when it's buried beneath pain. You see both sides of every soul. And when you keep this secret protected, when you don't let the world pressure you into choosing just one side or one identity, you become magnetic, unreadable, sacred. The moment you explain your process, they try to simplify you. The moment you show your inner dialogue, they call it confusion. But you're not confused. You're just fluent in duality. You speak both the language of the heart and the mind. And that's not something everyone can understand. But you're not here to be understood. You're here to understand, to be the mirror, the balance, the breath between extremes. That is why people come to you when they don't know what they feel. That is why you hold a kind of softness that feels like safety, because deep down, you've mastered the art of inner equilibrium. Have you ever felt the weight of a choice so deeply that it echoed in your chest for days, not because you couldn't decide, but because you wanted to honor every truth involved? Have you ever noticed the silence in a room and adjusted your energy to make it feel lighter? Have you ever loved someone by simply being still, letting them unfold without judgment? That is not passivity. That is wisdom. That is leadership. That is the divine work of someone who carries balance, not as a performance but as a soul mission. So if any of this resonates, if you've ever felt torn between extremes and realized that you were the bridge that you were never meant to choose, but to hold, then leave a comment with the words, "Libra sees both sides of every soul." And say it not as an explanation, but as a quiet declaration of power. Because the more you protect this part of you, the more powerful it becomes. The more you honor your ability to feel everything without letting it consume you, the more magnetic you are. You don't need to shout to be heard. Your presence speaks volumes. And the next time someone tells you to just pick a side, smile gently and remember, you were born to be the space in between. Don't let them take that away. Because in a world of extremes, your balanced heart is not a flaw. It's the divine center we all need. Now take a breath, Libra. Let your heart settle into this truth. And when you're ready, we'll move forward together into the next secret, where you'll begin to understand why your voice holds the power to shift entire emotional landscapes without ever raising its tone. Secret 2. Your voice doesn't just speak, it soothes, shifts, and awakens. Dear Libra, your voice has never needed to be loud to be powerful. It doesn't rush. It doesn't force. It doesn't try to dominate a space. And yet, when you speak, something shifts. The air changes. People listen, not just to the words, but to the space between them. Because your voice doesn't speak for attention. It speaks from awareness, from empathy, from a place that most people don't even know exists within themselves. You've probably noticed it. How a few soft words from you can calm someone's storm. How you can reframe a tense conversation with just one gentle sentence. How your tone so measured, so thoughtful can settle even the most restless energy. That isn't an accident. That is alignment. It's your natural tuning to the subtle frequencies of emotion, connection, and energetic balance. While others are talking to be heard, you speak to be felt. And that, Libra, is a spiritual gift. Ruled by Venus, you don't just bring beauty into the world through aesthetics. You bring beauty into communication. You carry a kind of sacred eloquence, not necessarily through fancy words or dramatic declarations, but through your ability to say the right thing, in the right moment, with the right energy. You're not just expressing yourself, you're reading the emotional current of the room, absorbing it, and then releasing something that creates balance, softness, harmony. What makes your voice different is not what you say, it's how you say it. Your voice is like a breeze moving across still water, gentle, but creating ripples that travel far beyond what anyone can see. People may forget your exact words, but they'll always remember how they felt when you spoke. That warmth in their chest, that sigh of relief, that moment of clarity they didn't even know they needed. This isn't charisma, it's resonance. It's the way your energy lingers long after you've left the conversation. And the reason this is a secret, something that must be protected, is because most people won't understand it. They'll either underestimate you because you're not loud, or try to pull you into energy that doesn't match your rhythm. But you're not here to shout over the noise. You're here to restore frequency. You're here to speak peace in a world addicted to conflict. You're here to remind people that power doesn't always look like volume. Sometimes, it looks like a whisper that makes the whole room go still. Have you ever noticed how people open up to you without knowing why? How strangers tell you things they've never said out loud before? How your presence alone makes people soften, breathe deeper, feel safe. That's not luck, Libra. That's the healing energy in your voice. It's the magnetic field of someone who speaks with emotional intelligence, not to be right, but to create right energy. But here's the deeper truth. Your voice isn't just a way to communicate. It's your spiritual instrument. You were given this frequency for a reason. To soothe when things get loud. To clarify when things feel cloudy. To call people back to their center, not by telling them what to do, but by being the reminder of balance itself. And that's why silence is also part of your power. You know when not to speak. You know when words will only add weight. And when silence can be the most healing response of all. So protect this gift. Don't waste your voice on noise that doesn't honor your depth. Don't explain yourself to those who aren't listening. Don't shrink your wisdom just to match someone else's volume. Your voice is here for something greater. For connection. For awakening. For weaving beauty into broken places. If you've ever felt this truth, if you've seen how your presence calms, storms, or how your words create stillness, then leave a comment that says, "My Libra voice creates harmony," not just as a sentence, but as a statement of self-recognition. Because the more you honor this quiet power, the more the world will feel it, even if they don't know how to explain it. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay with me, because in the next secret, you'll discover the real reason your curiosity is not a distraction, but the very force that keeps your soul forever radiant. Secret 3. Your aesthetic eye is a gateway to higher frequency. Dear Libra, there's something about the way you see the world that's hard to explain. You don't just notice beauty, you feel it. You don't chase perfection, because you know that true beauty doesn't live in flawless lines. It lives in harmony, in energy, in the invisible rhythm between things. While others look at what's obvious, your soul is drawn to the subtle, the delicate, the spaces in between. And somehow, you always know when something feels right, even before anyone else sees it. You've probably felt it for as long as you can remember. That magnetic pull toward aesthetics, balance, color, light, shape, mood. But it's not just about design. It's not just about taste. It's about energy. What most people don't realize is that your eye for beauty is not a surface-level gift. It's a portal, a sacred tuning fork, a bridge between what is visible and what is felt. You can walk into a room and immediately sense what's off. Not because something looks messy, but because the frequency isn't flowing. You can hear someone speak and feel that their words don't match their energy. You can look at a person, a moment, a setting, and know whether it's in harmony or disharmony. And this sensitivity isn't weakness. It's a sign of a soul that has woken up. In astrology, you're ruled by Venus, yes, the planet of love and beauty, but also of alignment. She's not just interested in what looks good, she's drawn to what feels whole, and through her, you carry a gift that very few understand. The ability to recognize when something or someone is out of tune, and gently guide it back into resonance. This is why you're often the artist, the designer, the stylist, the healer, the one who rearranges energy without even needing to speak. You probably do this all the time without realizing it. The way you choose your clothes, the way you light a room, the way your presence makes people feel seen, not judged, not fixed, just balanced. You remind others of what it feels like to come home to themselves, not by lecturing them, not by fixing them, but simply by being beauty in motion. Your aesthetic sense isn't about vanity, it's about vibrational truth. You bring grace into chaotic spaces. You restore symmetry where things have fallen out of line. You reflect back to people their own light before they even know they have it. And that's why this must remain your secret. Because when people know you see so much, they might try to manipulate your sensitivity. They might expect you to always be the one who makes things feel beautiful, without giving anything in return. But your gift deserves protection. Not everyone is meant to see the full range of what you perceive. Not everyone can hold the sacred weight of your vision. Have you ever looked at something completely ordinary? A cracked wall, a faded photo, a stranger's eyes, and suddenly felt overcome by its beauty? Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. Have you ever created something, a playlist, a painting, a mood board, a moment, and felt like you were translating energy into something that others could finally feel? That's your soul speaking through your sense of harmony. That's your higher frequency shining through your eye for balance. And the best part? You don't have to explain it. You don't have to justify why something feels off, or why you're drawn to a certain tone, a certain scent, a certain light. You just know. Because your eye is not looking outward. It's tuning inward. It's listening to the energetic harmony behind all things and guiding you, quietly, toward whatever aligns with your soul. So if you've ever felt this truth, if you've ever healed a space just by walking into it, or touched someone's heart just by noticing something no one else did, then leave a comment that says, Libra Beauty heals the unseen. Because you're not just someone with good taste. You're someone whose vision brings people back to themselves. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because the next secret will reveal why your inner conflict isn't a flaw to be fixed, but a sacred process that's awakening your highest self. Secret 4. Your inner conflict is a sacred process of awakening. Dear Libra, most people think inner conflict is something to avoid, something messy, something broken, something that needs to be resolved quickly. But you've lived long enough inside your own heart to know some contradictions are not meant to be fixed. They're meant to be felt. You don't fear the tension inside you because somewhere deep down, you've always known that real balance is born from contrast. You've never been just one thing. Within you, there are two voices, one that longs to belong, to love, to give endlessly to the world, and another that whispers of solitude, privacy, the need to protect your energy and keep a part of yourself untouched. You hear them both. You honor them both. And that's what makes you rare. You are not torn. You are sacredly divided. And in that division, something beautiful is born. While others seek clarity in extremes, you dance in the space between. You are both soft and discerning, both open and guarded, both nurturing and independent. This is not indecision. It's initiation. Every time those two voices inside you pull in different directions, they're not trying to break you. They're trying to shape you. Not into someone perfectly balanced, but into someone perfectly real. In astrology, Libra is the sign of the scales. But the scales only find balance through constant motion, tiny shifts, micro adjustments, listening, recalibrating, again and again. You are not still because you're passive. You're still because you're always listening. To yourself, to others, to what isn't being said, to what's trying to emerge. Your inner conflict is not chaos. It's a ceremony. It's the private ritual where your highest self is being carved not by outside pressure but by internal truth. You don't run from the tension. You feel into it. You sit with it longer than most. And in that stillness, you begin to recognize every conflict you hold inside is simply a bridge pulling you from where you were to where you're meant to go next. That's why you often become a mirror for others. People see things in you they don't want to face in themselves. They project. They push. They ask you to decide, to define, to declare which part of you is real. But you already know the answer. Both are real. You are the paradox that doesn't need to be solved. You are the doorway where duality meets, and that's exactly why you're so hard to pin down. Why people fall into your energy but can't quite figure you out. Why they're drawn to your presence but don't fully understand why it lingers. It's because you carry depth, the kind of depth that can only come from having stood in both light and shadow and called them both home. Have you ever felt like your heart was moving in two directions at once, and yet, somehow, both paths were true? Have you ever paused, not because you were lost, but because you were listening for the answer beneath the answer? That's not confusion, Libra. That's wisdom unfolding. That's soul work in progress. That's you, letting the process carve you open instead of rushing to escape the discomfort. So protect this process. Don't let anyone tell you that your inner conflict is weakness. It's your greatest teacher. It's the reason you feel so deeply, love so widely, and understand people in ways they don't even understand themselves. Because you've lived the contradictions, and that makes you a safe space for others to face theirs. If you've ever looked at your own complexity and thought, maybe this is not a flaw, maybe this is the way through, then leave a comment that says, "My inner conflict is my awakening." Not to explain, not to prove, just to witness yourself in your own becoming. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because the final secret is waiting, and it will remind you why your power isn't in choosing who to be. It's in the way you rise each time you've been torn between who you were and who you're becoming. Secret 5. You don't shine through spotlight. You shine through silent balance. Dear Libra, in a world where everyone seems to be chasing the spotlight, racing to be heard, scrambling to be seen, you do something different. You step back. You observe. You feel. You adjust the energy in the room before anyone even realizes there's something off. You don't interrupt. You realign. You don't perform. You restore. And that is exactly why your presence is unforgettable. You don't need to fight for the center, because your energy naturally becomes the center. While others rise through noise, you rise through presence, through stillness, through an almost invisible kind of grace that slowly weaves itself into the space around you until people realize something feels better when you're here. They breathe easier. They think clearer. They feel seen even if you've barely said a word. You see, your light doesn't come from trying to outshine anyone. It comes from your ability to bring everything back into its rightful place. And that's a kind of power most people will never understand until they've felt it. Until they've lived a moment where you held the tension for them, where you offered clarity without needing credit, where you helped them find peace in a space that was spiraling simply because you existed within it, choosing not to escalate, but to balance. That's the kind of light that doesn't just glow, it transforms. In astrology, Libra rules the 7th house: partnership, harmony, equilibrium. But here's what no one talks about. Libra isn't just about harmony in relationships with others. It's about becoming the balancing force that brings a system, a space, a soul back into alignment, without needing applause, without needing to be thanked. Just doing what you do, quietly, constantly, compassionately. You are the pause in the chaos, the breath before the answer, the calm in the eye of the storm. And maybe that's why people don't always recognize your power right away. Maybe they overlook it, take it for granted, assume your calmness means you're not affected. But by the time they realize what you've been doing, it's already too late. Because you've already settled deep into their lives, invisible, irreplaceable, and unforgettable. You don't demand space. You become the space. And Libra, that is rare. That is sacred. Have you ever felt like you were the one quietly holding things together while others took the credit? Have you ever sensed the emotional temperature drop when you spoke with intention, or rise when you walked into a room? Have you ever helped people reconnect with themselves just by being someone who didn't try to fix them, but simply reminded them of their own center? That's not luck. That's not passivity. That's not just being nice. That's your soul at work. That's your quiet brilliance guiding everything back into flow. So protect this light. Don't let the world convince you that you have to shout to be powerful. Don't chase attention just to prove you exist. Because Libra, you were never here to perform. You were here to realign. And that is a gift very few can carry with the kind of elegance you do. If this resonates, if you've ever felt the power of your quiet influence, then leave a comment that says, "I shine by restoring balance." Let it be your reminder that you don't need to be louder, just more aligned, more centered, more you. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay close. Because while these may be the final words in this chapter, your journey of unfolding, of healing, of remembering who you are is just beginning. Dear Libra, after walking with you through this journey, I hope you've come to see what has always lived quietly inside you. Your power doesn't come from needing to be seen, but from the truth that you see everything. Your grace is not performance, it's perception. Your balance is not passive, it's conscious. And your presence is not small, it's sacred. If you carry even one of these 5 secrets within you, the balanced mind that sees all sides, the soothing voice that shifts energy, the eye for harmony that brings beauty into chaos, the inner conflict that awakens truth, or the silent strength that holds everything together, then you are already doing something most people never will. You are living in alignment with your soul. So how do you bring this into daily life? Pause before reacting and listen for the frequency behind the words. Create beauty where you are, not for others, but to remind yourself who you are. Let your inner conflict be a teacher, not a threat. Speak with intention, and know that your silence can be just as powerful. And above all, remember, you don't need to prove your light. Just keep restoring balance in your own world, and by doing so, in the world around you. If any part of this message touched your soul, I invite you to share it. Leave a comment below and tell me, which of these 5 Libra secrets felt like it was written just for you? And let's affirm it together with the words, Libra secrets are sacred. If you feel called to support our work and help us keep creating content like this, you can now tap the Super Thanks button below the video. Every act of support, no matter how small, allows this energy to keep flowing and helps us reach more hearts like yours. And before you go, don't stop here. There's more waiting for you. You can tap one of the videos showing right now on your screen, or choose another from our channel recommendations. Each one is crafted with the same soul, depth, and intention to help you align with your cosmic journey. Libra, you are not here to be everything for everyone. You're here to be the balance the world forgot it needed. And your light, quiet, graceful, undeniable is already doing that. Until next time, keep shining in your own quiet way. I'll see you in the next video.